Cover something pretty important here, and nobody seems to be talking about it. And what that is we've called it TV mnemonic circles, and that's what we're trying to bring to the forefront. And we have a pretty unique way of telling everybody about it. Bonnie would like to give just a brief history of the TV to begin with, which will, at the end of that, everyone will have no doubt that the TV was designed from the beginning to be a weapon. And then we can get into the TV mnemonics, and then even deeper, I like to discuss the sigil dark magic that's being used on the TV with these mnemonics, and that's where the real programming comes in, and it is dark magic. So if you're okay with it, Clay, I'll let Bonnie go ahead and start in on the brief history.
Absolutely, sir, absolutely. Hello, Bonnie.
Okay, I'll pass the phone over to her. Here you go.
Hi, Clay.
Hello, Bonnie. Nice to finally get to talk to you.
Hey.
Now, this
Yes,
evidently,
nice to say hello.
evidently your view of television is equal to mine. I tell people they don't call it programming for nothing. You know,
That's right. That's what it was designed for.
And it's about a little bit more, I guess, than just getting you to buy all these pharmaceuticals that'll, kill you. I don't know why anybody would buy a pharmaceutical after listening to all the contraindications on the 1-minute commercial.
Yes, all the side effects.
But,
right, the side effects are probably worse than the actual disease.
All right, give me a little bit of you were going to give me a history about the television. Tell me about that.
Yes, well, the first television came out in 1925, and that was a mechanical television. It was a big wooden box, and inside it had a tiny little motor that would spin a metal disc. And all around the circumference of the disc were little holes. And behind this disc was a light bulb, so the light would shine through the holes as the disc would spin. So the person sitting in front of the TV watching would look into this tiny little screen, which was about the size of a business card, and they would see a glowing flicker, and this flicker had a frame rate of 18 frames per second. So imagine trying to look at 18 pictures in 1 second and take in all of the information about every picture. Well, your conscious mind can't handle all of that information. So what happens is your brain goes into a light trance state, and your subconscious mind takes over. So your subconscious takes in all of the information that the TV programming is giving to you. So this is how you become open to suggestion. It's a state of hypnosis. So the very first TV was doing this. So this was in 1925. In 1927, we had the first TV broadcast in the United States. And that went from Washington, D.C. to New York City. And the main part of the demonstration was a speech given by Herbert Hoover, who was the Secretary of Commerce at the time. So even the very first TV broadcast, the government was involved with that. So that was 1927, and then things kind of got quiet in the United States as far as TV goes. People didn't really start getting them into their homes, and it didn't really become very popular until the 1950s, early 1950s. So what happened after 1927, after the first TV broadcast, the development of the TV went over to Nazi Germany. So Nazi Germany, they did a lot of testing, they did a lot of research on human beings and how to control human behavior, and they developed the television. So in 1936, 150,000 persons in 28 different viewing rooms in Berlin, they saw clear television broadcasts of the 1936 Olympics on a widescreen TV, nonetheless. A 40-inch wide screen TV in 1936. So that was pretty amazing for the time. So what happened was after the war, we had Project Paperclip, where Nazi scientists came over to the United States, and they got all the top jobs in academic institutions and scientific laboratories, both above ground and underground, and they completed their research. Now, some of this we can see because, for example, in 1977, the Senate had a hearing on MK Ultra. Now, this was a program designed by the CIA, and they had 144 projects where they were experimenting on controlling human behavior, and 7 of these projects were directly related to hypnosis. So they've been working on, ever since the TV came out, they've been working on designing their techniques and making the programming, even more in depth. And now you can go on the internet and you can look up information on U.S. patents that have to do with the control of human behavior. And I've got one written down here that I can read to you if you'd like.
Yes, go ahead.
This is U.S. patent number 6506148. Nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields for monitors. Physiological effects have been observed in a human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies, near 1/2 Hz or 2.4 Hz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displaying pulsed images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. It is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of a subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby computer monitor or TV set. For the latter, the image pulsing may be embedded in the program material, or it may be overlaid by modulating a video stream. So that's just one of the many patents that are out there that have to do with controlling the human nervous system or human behavior in general. So what the TV does, when you sit down in front of a TV, it only takes about 15 to 30 seconds before you are going into an alpha state. Now, normally, during waking consciousness and as you go throughout your day, your brain is in a beta wave state. The alpha wave happens when you're starting to go into a light trance state. So when you sit down in front of the TV, you're actually going into a state of hypnosis.
Let me ask you about that.
So this is what happens when you sit in front of the TV.
Yeah, let me interrupt you for just a second to ask you about that. When I was about 22, I went to a nightclub, and they had a hypnotist there. And he asked for volunteers, and I went up on the stage with 5 others. And after being up there for maybe 10 minutes, when he started to do his act, he glared at me, told me to get off the stage. Well, that kind of intrigued me, so later on I went and paid a hypnotist to hypnotize me, and he couldn't. He said, you have a very strong mind, Mr. Douglas. There's nothing I can do for you, nothing I can help you with. And I said, that's interesting. Do I still have to pay you? And he said yes. So, but what are some people resistant to this? Is that why I'm doing a news here and talking about MK Ultra? When everybody else is sitting and watching the TV thinking I'm some kind of right-wing, radical, racist, anti-Semite. And that's all by programming too. That's all by programming too. The ADL put out millions of bulletins trying to call me names like that to lessen my response. You probably get the same thing when you start trying to talk about the satanic aspects of this. Go ahead, dear.
Oh, yes. Yes, for sure. They want to ridicule people to make them seem crazy so they have no credibility. That's why they do that, and that is part of the programming, too. They, the TV's used for that, too, to control what people think and how they behave and what kind of thoughts are acceptable and which ones are not. But as far as hypnosis goes, I think at some level everyone is susceptible to hypnosis. It all depends how deep of a state of subconsciousness the hypnotist can get you into. I've read stories about people who have tried to resist hypnosis and people who really felt that they had a strong mind and they really believed that they could not be hypnotized. And of course it depends on the quality of the hypnotist, what kind of experience they have. But people can actually be hypnotized against their will and put into a state of hypnosis and given suggestions and then brought back up out of the state by the hypnotist and not remember a bit of it consciously. Your conscious mind wouldn't remember it at all because your conscious mind is not involved in that programming. It is the subconscious mind that's doing that kind of work. So what happened on the original stage when the hypnotist told you to get off the stage? But he did that because you couldn't be hypnotized?
Yes. And it's possible because I've studied the occult and I've read everything on the subject for 45 years. So it may be that it's hard for anyone else to get me down to a level that I'm accustomed to.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, I suppose for people with very strong wills, it could be difficult to hypnotize them.
Yeah, they say it's written in big letters on my jacket, will not cooperate. So, but the average person watching this television, I mean, I thought I was normal. I thought I was well informed when I was in Miami, and I read the Miami Herald every morning. I watched the Today Show, and on the Today Show, I watched what happened at Waco, and that kind of turned me off from mainstream TV. And what they know they're doing this. I mean, there's been all kinds of stories, subliminals and all that. And we know, if you like Steven Seagal, he beats up on the militia guys all the time. He makes them into the bad guys. Kind of like the Israelis make the Palestinians into the bad guys. Again, this is programming. So, how do we deal with this? I mean, we know that mainstream news is pushing the whole New World Order scenario. How do we deal with this? Is there resistance? Is there, can we take a red pill or? Okay. Can we take the red pill? Does that help?
All right. Don't take any pills. That's what helps. The pharmaceuticals, the chemtrails, the chemicals in the food, the GMO food, the television, the movies, all of it is designed by the same think tanks. The same people have come up with all these concepts, and they all work integral. They're all part of each other. So if you're doing just a little bit of that, if you're not taking any of the pills and not eating GMO, let's say, but you're still watching TV, that's still enough to keep you in a trance state throughout your life. And as Bonnie pointed out, it only takes, a few seconds, about 15 seconds for a TV viewer to go into a hypnotic state. And the average TV viewer in our country watches TV 4.5 hours a day. And that is that average alone, even less than that, is more than enough being who watches TV regularly in a trance state throughout their entire life. And that's a pretty big statement. That's something that people should think about when they hear that. So your average American is watching TV and is using cell phones and is eating GMO and all the other things that aren't good for their body, mind, and spirit. And so we're basically creating an entire nation of zombies who are walking around in a trance state. And so that's why Bonnie and I are trying to point these things out, these dangers about the TV, because it's essential to know that the TV is.
Now that's an interesting choice of words, because we are being flooded with movies of zombies. World War Z, Tom Cruise, big name stars. And you're seeing masses and masses of people being slaughtered because they're zombies. What form of program, what kind of message are we being fed right now? Is it to somehow get implanted in people's minds that this is coming, we're going to have to kill a lot of people because they're all going to turn into zombies? Well, they already are.
You're on. Yeah, you're onto something there. That's basically the message. The TV keeps you stupefied and keeps you in a hypnotic state, and then they feed these hypnotized viewers with what they want them to create. As you know, Clay, human beings are reality creators. We all have a third eye, and we all create our own reality tunnels. That's just a term for it. And then these, overall, the masses together create a mass reality, or our template, basically, that reality is working off of. And so if you are the evil guys, and you can figure out some way to put some machine in everybody's home that would hypnotize them, and then you could show them the program that you want them to manifest, so you could have them manifest your own dark Illuminati satanic reality on this planet, that is exactly what you would do, and that is exactly what they have done, starting way back when, like Bonnie said, back in the 1920s, they had already begun to work on this weapon to do exactly that, to have human beings create satanic reality for them. And that weapon turned out to be called the television. And so, before we go too far in here, I'd like to be able to just discuss about the mnemonics, if that's okay with you, Clay.
Yes, please, go ahead. That's,
Okay.
how do you pronounce that again? It's MN, mnemonics? Mnemonics?
Mnemonics, that's Mnemonics, mnemonics. And basically, about 5 years ago now, Bonnie and I don't and haven't watched TV for a long time, and this is a part of the reason why we're conscious enough to be able to see this and then warn other people about it. About 5 years ago, we were at a relative of mine over at their home, and they were watching TV. And this is where Bonnie and I first saw the circles, and we knew right away. We saw them, we're like, whoa, that's not right. There's something there. And so we began to research it, and just for your audiences, for the purpose of this interview, I'll explain what they look like. But it's really important that everybody that hears this interview here, that they go to our website, which is Awaken Video, AWAKEN video.org. And right on the front of that website is our post that we put up about this information, which is called Global Epidemic Exposed, Television Sigil Magick. And everybody that hears this interview really needs to go watch that video, because it explains in detail and shows you exactly what we're talking about here today. But essentially what the circles are the mnemonics, are arcs or semicircles that are in a circular pattern, and these semicircles rotate in a counter rotation way. In other words, in opposite directions of each other, but in a specific interlocking pattern that seems to be repeating over and over again on other channels and other shows that people are watching and whatnot. It doesn't seem to matter what the show or channel is. These same mnemonics keep popping up. And so these mnemonic circles are what are being used to actually induce a deeper state of trance in the viewer or victim, depending on your point of view. And then they're also using sigil magic in conjunction with that. And I have a real unique way for your audience to explain what sigil magic is so that everybody can understand that we're dealing with things that are very, very powerful, even though the mind programming that has been set into all of these people that are TV watchers is that magic is something that's fictional, or magic is something like Walt Disney World, or magic is sleight of hand with magicians doing card tricks, and that's all that it is. And that's a very, very dumbed down and tranced out definition of magic. It's really not that. It's much more powerful than that. It's
I
very
see.
real, and it's what the dark form of this.
I see you spelt it correctly too, with a K. Magic.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, exactly. So let's see. Basically, what happened? This is January of 2013. I have to correct myself because in other interviews I've been saying that it's 4 people, but I actually found out that there's 2 extra people I hadn't been mentioning. And so these 6 people came forward January 2013 with a couple pieces of information that are vital. And I'll explain that, and then I can explain sigil magic in a way that's going to really blow everybody's mind, I think. Everyone who listens to this
Great.
will really think differently about magic. So basically we have Stephen Mailer, Chris Dunn, Gary Evans, Brian Forrester, and Yusef Al-Yen, and a woman who is an artist that goes just by her first name, and that's Trisha. And these 6 individuals came forward back in January with a crucial bit of information. These people are Egyptologists, engineers, and in Brian Forrester's case, he's a Peruvian expert. He does the Inca stuff in South America. But what these 6 people came forward and told us in January is astounding. And that's the most ancient monolithic site on this planet. That is to say, the very oldest ruins that they can find on this planet are built the best, with the most precision, which is to say the oldest stuff on the planet is built better than any of the stuff that came after it, including some of the pyramids and things like that weren't built quite as good. But the amazing thing about that is that these oldest, most well-built monolithic sites also have no hieroglyphs, which is to say, back at the latest time, way back, the most ancient places we can find, not only are those places built the best, but the people who built them had no language. Now, this goes a long way. When you play the whole thing out in your mind and think about everything logically, this goes a long way in showing how language has played a part in the fall of mankind, because not only did we start to see that man developed language after that, but then things got worse and worse. Things weren't able to be built as well, and so on and so forth. So language plays right in to the fall of man. And so that's very important to understand. And now what I want to, so keep that in mind, everybody. And then what I want to explain is sigil magic. And then I'll explain it in a way that everybody's going to get it, and they're going to be really surprised when I describe it this way. And that is to say, first of all, the description of sigil magic is that you make a shape, any form or shape, and the magician puts intention into that form, and it gives that form a meaning. Even if it's just to that one person, just to that one magician, and that gives that sigil some power. Now, if you can put that sigil, that form, that shape, out into public view, and get everybody who sees it to also understand that it means the specific thing, and they see it that way too, then they give it a lot of power. Now, I can just say over the phone, I'm not sitting there where you can even see me, and I can just say, if you put your finger in the air and make a swish mark in the air, sort of like a check mark, but a swish, everybody everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? What company is that?
Nike.
Nike. There you go. And I'm sure everybody listening to this says the same thing. That is a sigil. The Nike swish symbol is a sigil. And for me to be able to just describe making a swish sign in the air, and everybody knows that means Nike, that demonstrates the power of the sigils. Now,
How about just let me interrupt for just a second. Let me interrupt you for just a second, because one of the signals that I've noticed that I think is pretty significant is the inside of the Dodge Ram logo, and you've got
that's the female reproductive system.
Yeah, the Baphomet. The Baphomet is inside the logo of every Dodge Ram truck, or at least they're when it's on the screen. You can see the Baphomet very easily.
Yeah.
And now, are we talking about
Yeah, it looks like a Baphomet, and then also the actual.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, on the emblem, the Dodge. I can hear you.
Okay.
On the Dodge emblem, I think we just must have a little. It's okay. On the Dodge emblem there, yeah, it's definitely the Baphomet, and then on the inside of the emblem, this is something we've just researched, so it's funny that you're bringing it up at the same time. The inside of the Dodge logo is actually the cervix, or the inside of the female reproductive system. When you really look at it, I can send you some graphics on that later, but not to get too far off, I'd like to explain how the sigils are very, very powerful, and this will make a lot of sense to everybody, because every human being on this planet who has a language, which is, as far as I know, every human being on this planet, they're all practicing every single day sigil magic. And this is what I mean by that. Earlier I said if you make a symbol and you put intent into it, that's a sigil, like the Nike logo is a sigil. And obviously it has a lot of power, because if I can just say the words that I did, make a swish mark in the air, what company is that? Everybody knows it's Nike. I'd say that's pretty powerful. So the way that everybody practices sigil magic every day is by use of the alphabet, because the alphabet is sigil magic. We were all, at a very young age, we were all put into an institution that we call school, and we were all given these 26 sigils, which are called letters in an alphabet, and we are taught how to do what? How to spell. Very magical, right? All the words are right there, just like I said in divine law, they have to tell you what they're doing. So they teach these human children how to spell with sigil magic. Each one of these letters in the alphabet has a specific shape, and it has a specific frequency. We all pronounce them the same. And if you take this English sigil magic, which is known as the English language, anywhere in the world to another person who knows English sigil magic or how to speak English, they can read what you're writing in that sigil magic. So it's very powerful. And to demonstrate how powerful the alphabet is in that form of sigil magic, but several years ago there was a Dr. Masaru Emoto who started doing experiments on water, and many people are familiar with him. And basically, he took beakers of pure water and had people, as students or whatever, put intention into each beaker. Like one beaker of water, they would put the intention of love into it, say loving kind words to it, and think loving thoughts towards that water. And in another area, with the other beaker of water, they would do the opposite. They would say mean things to it or be hateful and put negative intention into that water. And sure enough, when you freeze that water, they look completely different under the microscope. The hate water looked like mud. The love water looked crystalline like snowflakes, just very uniform and beautiful. And another aspect that people are less aware of about this experiment is that you can take those beakers of water and not put any intention into them whatsoever, not say anything to them or think anything towards them, but just take a beaker and write the sigil word love across one of them, and put the sigil word hate across another one, fill them with water, and let them sit there, and the same thing happens. If you go back and freeze that water and check out the crystalline structure. The water that had the sigil love written across it is crystalline and pure and looks like snowflakes. The water with the sigil word hate across it looks like mud. And this is a repeatable experiment, which was indeed repeated scientifically. So they know that this form of sigil magic, which is something that everybody uses and everybody is aware of, is extremely powerful. And one more resource for people to be able to understand this is Dr. Ibrahim Karim, that's Ibrahim, who is a Egyptian scientist. He and his website is biogeometry.com. Dr. Ibrahim Karim is utilizing basically sigil magic to change the energy in places, and if you go to that biogeometry website, you'll see again an instance of sigil magic being very, very powerful. And next, what we'd like to do is talk about the sigil magic that's being used in the mnemonic, which is only different in that it's a more ancient form of sigil.
Spell that for me. Mnemonics, how do you spell that?
Mnemonics is M as in Mary, N as in Nancy, E, M as in Mary, O, N as in Nancy, I, C. Mnemonic.
Okay. And let me stop you for a minute. Now we've got a second hour here. We got 10 minutes till the break. We'll be coming up on a break.
Okay.
But this magic that you're talking about, when I studied Aleister Crowley and some other dark magicians, I had studied their works and some of the things that they had to say. This was Kabbalism. This was based on, they talked about the tree of life. They talked about this, the occultic was kind of Jewish in orientation. Now, there's two things I want to talk about. I mean, we've got the whole we've got the Bible as a history book to look at, and they try to warn you about the Jews that say they're Jews but are not, or of the synagogue of Satan. We're talking about basically the Edomites, and we're talking about the cursed ones, the descendants of Cain, the Canaanites.
Right.
And these were the evil magicians of the day, the Pharisees and the scribes that Jesus railed against 2,000 years ago are with us today. Now, when I try to talk about that, when I try to talk about the criminal state of Israel, I get attacked, probably by a lot of really good people. And because I believe that, I'm not going to refer to them as idiots anymore. They are simply being deceived and programmed, and what they do, and probably without realizing exactly what they're doing, when someone calls me a hater for trying to get the kind of information that you're putting out right now, when somebody calls me a hater, they are lowering the whole vibration level of everything that we're trying to do together. They are poisoning the well, you might say, I think. Because do you know what the definition of love is? L-O-V-E is your level of vibrational energies. And what you say is absolutely right. Now, I've got another friend who is demonized that taught me to spin my water. It's all you got to do is put your hand and hold your hand on either side of your cup of coffee for about 20 seconds. And it changes, according to him, it changes the rotational frequency of the atoms in that water. And I've seen that done with things like Miracle 2 soap. Miracle 2 soap, they prayed over that, and basically, maybe that's what we're doing with prayer. We pray over our food, and we alter the in our liquids, and we alter the vibrational rate, or the maybe it's the direction the atoms are spinning in. But about this whole hate thing. When somebody starts accusing you of hate when you're trying to save the world, isn't that like a evil spell they're trying to put on you to try to, or a self-fulfilling prophecy? What's going on?
Yeah, well, I really feel that everybody has been hypnotized into the positions that they're in, where we are basically self-policing sheep state in a way. You know, all the people are keeping their heads down, and the people who do raise their head up and say anything, there are people programmed within, within this matrix. It's very much like the Matrix, the movie The Matrix even, where everybody is a potential agent, and these people are self-policing, where, we're all taught by somewhere, somebody, not to say these particular things because they're not politically correct. And basically, it's not hateful to say the truth, and you don't have to say anything disparaging about anybody to reflect on the truth that, like what we're reporting on here is that television and the movie industry and even the music industry is very satanic, and it's extremely obvious. There's even these artists coming out saying that they have literally sold their soul to the devil. And then when you look into the music industry, the movie industry, the television industry, and the other thing that's very hurtful to people right now, which is the financial situation, you look into who's controlling the finances, such as the banks and whatnot. And it's not saying anything disparaging against anybody to remark on the truth. And the truth is that all of those areas I just spoke about, from television to the movies to the banking industry, are all controlled by Jewish population, and that is a fact. It's not saying anything bad about Jews, just saying the fact.
And what I've told people, the Illuminati hide behind the Jews. We'll be right back. Stay with me. We got another hour, and I'm really appreciate the information we're getting out here. Hang on.
Right back after this message. Wadiya will remain a dictatorship. Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests. Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Zeke and John, where America comes to hear the truth. I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try. You just recreated the worst possible nightmare. Year 1999, 2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, 1.1 trillion missing. You think with more misses out, the repo guys taking up our job on the line. Even when we win, it's just a matter of time before we give it all back. There are serious financial management problems. Are we potentially at a point where we might actually lose the financial system as we know it? You stand there and you suddenly realize, hey, I'm still here. Don't be a victim of the current economic crisis. Turn the tables on the banksters, collection agents, agencies and other crooks. You can stress out trying to find a way to make the minimum payments every month, or you can get them to pay you. Join hosts Jesse and Dave every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time for What Lies in Your Debt, right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. The banks don't have us slaves. This is Thomas, a.k.a. Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind. Yes, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs, government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Now you can share the topics that drive the discussions of your favorite talk shows with TalkStream Live's topic-driven talk radio. List and promote real-time talk radio topics, or post the topics that you want to hear. Hot topics are tweeted and retweeted, and include simple click-to-listen audio links. The future of talk radio is topic-driven talk radio. Available now at TalkStreamLive.com.
Revolution Radio. You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat masses, eating and drinking themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride, and they bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Get it done. Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com. Your data safe. You have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation. Survival, gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns. You have your documents and your personal information in a safe place, in your hands, where you know where it is. Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it, I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
All right, we're back. You're listening to the Free American. I am Clay Douglas. John and Bonnie Mitchell are my guests today. Their website is www.awakenvideo.com. We're talking about a global epidemic exposed. Television Sigil Magick, and these seals. You mentioned Nike. We mentioned the whole Dodge Ram thing. You know, you've also got the UN globalization. I see there's 5 circles a lot. What are some of the things we should be looking for, or can we see them if we look for them in the television commercials, or are they embedding this in the programming itself? It's like seeing somebody drinking a Coca-Cola in the movie. You know, they're advertising that product. What are we looking for, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Once everybody sees that video on our website, which is awakenvideo.org, and go to that main video there, it's called Global Epidemic Exposed Television Sigil Magick. And you watch that video, and after that, if you are a TV watcher, and Bonnie and I, really our message is that everybody needs to understand that the television's a weapon, and that everybody needs to turn it off. Once you understand, as we do, really how technically important it is to understand the level of mind control involved, people shouldn't watch TV at all. There's no such thing as smart TV if you're watching PBS and Discovery Channel and History Channel, because all this mind control is there as well. And so the bottom line is, if TV is a weapon, don't watch it ever, not even for 5 minutes. Everybody needs to unplug them and get rid of them. And what we'd like to do as part of our presentation here, I've explained through the alphabet that everybody is using Sigil Magick every day. And what Bonnie would like to describe now, if that's okay with you, Clay, is the ancient sigils from the time of King Solomon. That this form of ancient sigil magic is what is being used in the mnemonics of TV today, which is actually doing things. Go ahead.
Well, just keep in mind that I am one of those people that use those sigils called the English language to write books, and I've got books, and you know, by the way, folks, if you go to shop.freeamerican.com, you can get copies and see what books I have written. But I've also made films. No subliminal programming in there, just but I mean, I am using the language, and we are trying to communicate, and that's one of the problems we're facing right now. How do we get this information out to people? And once they understand what's happening here, the second big question is how do we combat this? How do we work? And that's really the key. And this is what I see in all the hate talk, accusing me of being a racist, accusing me of being anti-Semite, accusing me of being a hater. This is part of the elite divide and conquer strategy. Well, you know, not everybody, but somebody wants you to be a good Baptist or a good Methodist or a good Catholic or a good consumer. You know, it's so they're dividing and conquering us.
Yeah.
You take it off and run with that. A line of thought. What are we talking about
here?
That's
right. Yeah, that's definitely true. We're definitely all been divided as a species, divided by our race, divided by our nationality. And of course, nationality, nationalism, religion, all of these things are all archonic ideas that have been put on man in order to divide them. And so if it's okay with you, Bonnie will go ahead and talk about King Solomon and sigils and how very powerful they are, again, being used against the human subconscious, if that's okay with you, Clay.
That'll be fine with me. You might keep it in the back of your mind that I wrote a series of novels about a character in the future that whose name was or is Solomon. So go ahead. Tell me about Solomon.
Okay.
Okay, here's a little bit about King Solomon. King Solomon was king of the Israelites from 970 to 930 BC. And King Solomon was a magician. Well, he wrote a series of books, magical texts, in which he described the magic that he did. Well, one of these books is called The Lesser Key of Solomon, Galatia. In this book, King Solomon describes 72 different spirits, or demons. Now, he gives the descriptions, and he gives the names and the sigils for each of these 72 demons. These are sigils that are used on the TV in mnemonic circles. Now, in this book, it says that the spirits of the Galatia are portions of the human brain. Their seals, therefore, represent methods of stimulating or regulating those particular spots through the eye. Okay? So actually, the idea behind this book, this magical book, is that these sigils can be used to actually control portions of the human brain, the subconscious brain. And the subconscious regulates all of our senses. So sight, sound, taste, smell, touch, those are all regulated by the subconscious mind. So when the TV has you in a state of hypnosis and your subconscious mind is open for programming, these mnemonic circles on TV are embedding information, they're embedding the energy of these sigils into your brain. So it is possible that not only are they embedding information telling you how to act or how to think, but they're also embedding demonic energy. So, and recently I just discovered that these 72 names, these 72 spirits, are also called 72 names of God in other places. And that's going to require a little more research on my part, but I find it very interesting that King Solomon supposedly got these names of these 72 demons from God. But there are people who also believe these 72 names, these 72 spirits are names of God.
So somebody on the chat room was saying they're projecting these demons into your living room using these sigils.
That is correct. That is correct. Now, there's a great book written by a researcher named Fritz Springmeier. The name of the book is The Illuminati Formula to Create a Total Undetectable Mind-Controlled Slave. I'd like to read a quote from this book.
Very good. I've known him
Within
for a long
the
time.
occult world.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Within the occult world, the entire study of demonology is wrapped around the geometric shapes that serve as focal points for demons, and the portals by which demons can enter the human body. A demon doesn't have to be materialized or conjured up to enter into a body. Geometric shapes, which are believed to attract demons, are placed into the internal subconscious world of slaves. So really what these dark Illuminati magicians are doing is inserting this demonic energy into people's subconscious minds. And the mnemonic circles also contain, if you watch the video, you'll see, they contain binary code, they contain series of lines, series of dots, and repeating shapes. And all of these things mean something to your subconscious mind. So they are actually programming people so people will create or manifest the reality that the Illuminati desires. They're actually using TV viewers as manifestation machines, you might say.
Now, we've mentioned the Jewish connection. Let's also mention the legal connection. The City of London probably houses the Bar Association. And let's talk about the Masons for just a moment, because the Masons worship Lucifer, and I'm not sure, I'd like to get your input on this, both of you. I'm not sure that Lucifer is the bad guy. I'm not sure that Lucifer is the devil that the dark magicians want us to believe in. So maybe he's being demonized or used too. But the Masons have a great work, and I think that great work is the same as spoken of with the devil sitting at the top of the pyramid by the in the protocols of the elders of Zion. But who's the bad guys here? Who's doing this? What is the great work? What is their goal? Is it like Aaron Russo told us that they want us all chipped, the mark of the beast, the RFID chip in your hand, so they know how much money you got and what pills how much you can afford? What's going on? Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Aaron Russo, who you know was murdered shortly after he made those comments.
Yes, sir.
Given Illuminati cancer there. I think that is true. I think the ultimate goal is control, and the way we know who the bad guy is simply by observing their fruits. I often wondered this myself because in a lot of the esoteric writings that Bonnie and I have studied, which are very spiritual and loving and caring, spiritual references, a lot of times the Masons actually come up in that. And these are older books that I'm talking about, pretty old stuff. And it made me wonder, what are the Masons evil? What's going on? And I really think that everything has been usurped. And I use that word specifically because it has reference to the serpent. And I basically think that maybe at one time, or even still today, an aspect of the Masonic cult is a positive aspect, but they have been usurped, control, and at the higher levels of the Masonic order, I would say, yes, it's very evil. And basically that's the way I judge them, is by their fruits. We have, for instance, you're aware of in Colorado, the Colorado airport, and that was built by the Masons, and that it's very well known that there's an underground base there of some sort. And when you look around in that airport, especially at the murals there, they're very evil. They're very dark. They tell a story of, yet another World War III on this planet, and masses of human beings being slaughtered. It's very obvious that it's evil, and that is their fruit, and it's Masonic. So, let's look to that. Let's look to the fact that every president of this country, except two of them that ended up getting their heads blown off, were Masons. And these are two presidents, Kennedy and Lincoln, who both tried to go back to the gold standard and save our country from the Zionist movement, and they both were executed by the Illuminati. So if you really know your history a bit, and I know that you do, Clay, and you look into it, I would say knowing who the bad guy is just easy if you just look at their fruits and see who is helping and who is hurting. And yes, to answer your question, I think the end goal is just control. They want to control everything. These people don't just want to put a chip inside your hand, which is the mark of the beast. These psychopaths actually want to have every plant, every tree on this planet chipped and GPS locatable. I mean, that's not a psychotic plan in the works right there, and it's all in print. Stuff we're pulling out of thin air. These people actually write about all of this stuff. So it's very interesting, and I would say that Aaron Russo, if you do go and listen to his talks that he gave on video, very clearly demonstrate what their end goal is, which I think may happen in a frequency of this earth that is more the hell on earth frequency of earth, but that we are at the tipping point right now of a great splitting off, which is a natural created event. And what the Satanists do, what the satanic cults, what all of the evil does, whether you call yourself a Satanist or a Luciferian or whatever title or box you want to put yourself into, what they do is mimic. They mimic everything that already naturally happens here by the Creator, if you want to call that God, or Bonnie and I usually call it the One or Great Spirit, that positive creator influence that created the multiverse, they mimic that because they are all less than that. They are an aspect of God or the One, so they are automatically less than the whole. And so the best they can do is mimic. And so what I think they're going to do is, as this tipping point happens, which we're already well into, it began in December 21st, 2012, as the Mayans said, the window opened up. And I believe that the window goes all the way until roughly about 2016. And somewhere in between there, this tipping point happens, which the Christians call the rapture. And what these Luciferian / satanic Illuminati, whatever name you want to put on them, these evil ones, they are going to mimic that. In other words, when that happens and the splitting off occurs, they are going to be ready to take control of what's left, which is the total dark side, negative frequency, hell on earth aspect of Earth, which already exists here, just in another frequency.
Now, I got
and so when that splitting off occurs, they are ready to take control.
I've got a poem I did a number of years ago called "The Guest," about a Lucifer appearing to a party, and people are frightened and scared, and begged him, God, show us a way so in hell our souls won't burn. And his answer was, your God doesn't care, my burden he doesn't share, yet still of me you say beware, of hell you can't go. Of hell you shouldn't care, you can't go, because you were there, and you stay till you pay, as we said before. So, it's really about, I've said we have the opportunity here, we've had the ability for 100 years to make this planet back into the garden. A garden, it always has been a garden planet, still is, and we've got the technology and the ability to do that, but they don't want us to know that. They don't want us to know that you never hear any churches telling you you can do what Jesus did and more. All you got to do is realize that God's inside you. I refer to him as the force that holds the atoms together. And it's an intelligent force, isn't it?
Yep. Well, you hit on something really good there. You said that we've had the technology for 100 years to turn this around. And let me remind you that when Jesus did his all of his works here, healing the leopards and walking on water and turning water into wine and whatever, all the different things that Jesus did here, he didn't do that with technology, correct? He didn't have a smartphone in his hand that helped him do that, or he didn't have a computer or any kind of technology whatsoever. And my point has always been this: technology is all satanic, from a pencil all the way to your computer. Whatever you want to call technology, including a pencil, something as simple as that, all of that is satanic, because all of it, once again, mimics what we used to be. Okay? When the greatest buildings on this earth, we now know, when they were built the most precisely, and they had no language. So we didn't even have the virus of language yet set in our mind to disconnect the left hemisphere from the right hemisphere.
Let me stop you for a moment. Talk about these ancient structures. These ancient structures, I wrote about them 45 years ago, and I'm going to give you a little look into that. But these structures go out. This is a global civilization, because we can't build them today. And how were they built? How were these 1,000-ton stones carved, lifted, and moved? And we've got some of these places that have pictures of dinosaurs engraved, lasered into these supposedly 100,000-year-old stones, 6,000-year-old stones, however that works. And I've also said that I think we've got two classes of people on this planet. One with space travel, whether you want to call them Nephilim, whether you want to call them aliens, whether you want to call them gods, whether you want to call them demons, they got the ability to have lunch on the moon and be back here by dinner and not use a drop of gasoline. And that's why it's so top secret. That's why they don't want you talking about that. And
yeah.
I've also said that thousands of years ago the Earth was a different place. A race existed like no other, and theirs was a technology far ahead of what we got today. The whole story of ancient aliens is prevalent now over the YouTube and all that. But my theory here, and what I write about, is that we're the aliens. I mean, we went out into space. We had the ability to travel in space in what we call UFOs. And that still the main points of power in today's age is still being controlled by those people, whether it's Masons or the bankers or the occultists or the people that are sacrificing children. And by the way, what's the oldest religion on the planet is Satanism, isn't it?
It seems to be ancient. Yeah, it's definitely ancient. It goes back past Sumer even. So, yeah, people are, this has been going on for a long time. But what I believe is that, one of the neatest things that they've learned about the pyramids that's very unexplainable is that they know that the pyramids were built from the top down at this point, which is really, if you put that in your mind for a while and think about it, the only way that that could be done, I believe, the only thing that I can come up with is that pyramid was built in another dimension and then slowly turned into a third-dimensional object. Because they know that those stones at the top were there before the stones at the bottom, and that's pretty crazy. So what I believe is that before technology, before the virus of language was given to us, we were more not just spiritual, we were more spirit. Period. And this was more of a spirit world, and technology is something that was not needed at all because we had everything encompassed inside of our temple, inside of our own body, if we even had actual bodies. I think it was much more etheric back then, and that much more real. And we have been dumbed down and slowed down and crippled by language and technology to the point now where that original spark of life that was us, it was the full flame of life that was us, is now just a tiny spark, all but extinguished inside of the heart of man. And but the good news is that we're at the bottom of that, and it's already started to turn the other way. We're already going back up the other way, which is why we're seeing the church fail. We're seeing the Pope resign. Bonnie and I actually know some of the real reasons why the Pope resigned, and that's not broadcast at all on the Idiot Box or anywhere else. You'll never really see the real information unless you dig for it. But it's becoming clear that the institutions of these Saturnian death cult powers or Illuminati powers are crumbling, which is great news for all of us.
This, hopefully we are coming to a turn. I mean, I've prayed that 2012 was the end of the banksters world, not necessarily ours.
Yeah.
And now you've both been in contact with ETs. I have a father-in-law, had a father-in-law. His name was Colonel Lloyd Conrad, and he's the Marine colonel that escorted the surviving alien from Roswell to Truman's office. Who are these? This was a small gray. I asked him if you want to come on my show and talk about it, Lloyd. He said, no, I want to live. And he didn't live very long after talking to me about it. But he said, you're a popular guy, Clay. He said, I said, what do you mean, Lloyd? He says, we we left your house, we came home, and the suit showed up and wanted to know why I was talking to Clay Douglas. I said, what'd you tell him? He said, I told him I had to. You were my son-in-law.
Wow.
But what role are they playing? I mean, I don't doubt that we've been trading with aliens for a few, probably for a few million years. I'm sure this planet's probably older than we could possibly imagine, and I don't believe our timelines are right. I think the flood wiped out most of civilization, whether that was Planet X or the what Pulaski called the conjunction, or but that may be approaching now, very soon. I've been seeing a lot of signs of that. What have you guys seen? And what are these ETs? Which ones are on our side? Which ones are not? Which ones were? Did they have a battle about in Dulce? Who's underground there?
Well, it's all very confusing, but I think the Greys are the ones that are underground, and possibly Reptilians. And Planet X, which is also known as Nibiru. There's actually something very interesting happening right now with our moon. Don't know if you know about this or not, Clay, but in 2001, our moon started wobbling very extremely. Now, normally the moon, we always see the same side, the same face of the moon.
Yes.
And it has a little bit of a wobble. It kind of tilts to the left and to the right a little bit. But right now it's extreme. And it's gotten the attention of Cornell University and Harvard University, and their scientists have looked into this extreme wobble of the moon. And they've tried to figure out, well, what's causing this? And the only thing they could come up with was that there must be some kind of inbound object coming into our solar system. Although they put the disclaimer right in their scientific paper, well, that's not possible. So it's really up in the air. We don't really know what's happening. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Is Planet X coming into our solar system now, or coming back, closer to the Earth? I'm not sure, but something's definitely happening with the moon. And as far as the Nephilim, many thousands of years ago, in the time of Sumeria and Babylon, Planet X came around and kind of wiped out the planet, and possibly that was what caused the Great Flood that happened. But, it's all very confusing because we don't have all the historically accurate details. And it seems like there's a war going on with all these different types of aliens and star people. It seems like the Greys and the Reptilians may be underground, possibly working with the secret government, the military. And then we've got off-world factions. It seems like there's a war going on with many different beings involved. And, of course, us Earthlings here, we're not really told about any of this stuff, so we have to try to figure it out on our own. And even though I've had a lifetime of experience with really good, what I call star people, multidimensional beings that I see basically in vivid dream experiences or astral experiences. So there's these really good beings that are trying to help out. Then there are negative beings coming from off-planet. And, of course, negative beings, aliens, are actually living under the ground on Earth, inside of Earth. So it's kind of hard to say exactly what's going on, but something's going on, like I said, with our moon right now. And also the sun is about to do a magnetic flip, according to NASA. According to NASA, every 11 years the sun does a magnetic reversal. But I'm not really sure if this is true or not, but it's what NASA says. So something's going on, for sure. I'm not sure what.
Now, let me ask you this. if this is coming, something's happening. They are preparing for something. With the, I mean, it's starting to reach it's starting to reach the mainstream that we're not exactly conspiracy theorists. What with Snowden, what with Brandon Robb, what with some of the other things that are happening here, journalists being murdered like Hastings. We've the American people at least, and that looks like it's happening worldwide here, are starting to wake up a little bit. The bankers are starting to be held accountable. They put them in jail in Iceland, and we'll be talking more about that with V.K. Durham, my friend grandma, who has been controls the Durham Trust, which is the indebtedness pretty much of a few $billion from Peru. We'll be talking about that later in the week. So it's the banking, it looks shaky. They've got we've got Russian troops, we've got UN troops in America now, and they're talking about using them to control some of our sporting events, to back up our thing here. That doesn't look good to me. That looks like they are getting ready to activate the FEMA camps. And I filmed the first Homeland Security meeting. Colonel John Brinkerup was lecturing law enforcement and said, in case of a single outbreak of smallpox, a disease, by the way, that's been wiped out and extinct in America for 100 years, in case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, because some of them just won't follow orders. I guess some of us won't line up to get vaccines to protect us from a disease that ain't been around for 100 years. So what are they preparing? Are they going to be heard?
It really.
What's going on? Go ahead.
Right. Well, what I believe is back to what I said before about the mimicry. The satanic, the Illuminati, they mimic. They know very well the science of astrology and the other things that they try to keep from the masses, or tell the masses, program them that this is, that that's the satanic stuff, the astrology and whatnot. But these people know, if they are indeed still able to be called people even, they do know what's going to happen, timelines on things. And so back to the FEMA camps and whatnot, all of this is part of their plan to piggyback, if you will, this natural created event of a rapture event, or an ascension, we would call it an ascension event, where people who are not, and see, this is something that's probably crucial we should at least touch on, is that the reason why 300 million Americans right now are all tranced out on these demonic circles on TV and out of their minds, basically, unconscious animals. There's a reason why out of 300 million of these people in this country, it's Bonnie and I who are bringing this information forward. That's not a coincidence. Bonnie and I know exactly why we are the two people who are bringing this new information forward, and it's because we are not partaking in the satanic reality that the Illuminati offer. We don't eat GMO food. We grow most of our own food here organically, and it's all heirloom food, all heirloom seeds. That's what we put inside of our bodies. We don't put chemicals on ourselves, on our bodies, to be absorbed into our bodies. Everything. We sleep inside of a Faraday cage that we built for ourselves around our bed. So we are insulated for 8 hours a day when we're sleeping, which is 1/3 of our life. We're insulated from RF dangers, from cell phone towers and whatnot. And we know that it's actually, we don't partake in mass media at all. We watch zero TV. We watch zero movies, unless, I'll put the little disclaimer in there, unless we're researching something, then we'll, take spiritual precautions and protect ourselves and watch that stuff for research. But the FEMA camps and all the stuff that Cohen, Alex Jones scares the crap out of all America about on a regular basis to keep them in fear. And Alex Jones is a Jesuit COINTELPRO, by the way. He is your enemy. He is an enemy of America. these people who want to put everybody into fear mode like this is what they're prepared for, and there's basically two ways out of here at this point. That is to become a whole human being and purify your mind, body, and spirit and ascend from this place during this event that's about to happen, or be part of the Matrix, be poisoned, be part of the satanic reality, and you'll go down that path, which is probably going to be not very pleasant. But either way, overall, if you look at things from a spiritual standpoint, our physical world is all part of this Illuminati control mechanism. So, there's a lot of fear about the body because we've all been taught, misinformed, that we are our bodies and that we are physical beings here, and nothing could be further from the truth. We're all human beings, are all spiritual beings having a human experience, and if you can know that and experience that, I don't think FEMA camps are on your something that's going to be in your future. It's going to be the people who are dumbed down and asleep and unconscious, and that includes these dark magicians. Let me remind you that there is nobody more deceived, nobody more unconscious on this planet than the Illuminati. They know about dark magic, which is the lowest form. It's the bottom of the barrel magic. They know how to raise demons. They know how to use all of these demonic powers to help them, but there is nothing lower than these dark magicians, and they are unconscious. Let me ask you, Clay, how unconscious would a human being have to be to entomb themselves 2 miles underneath the earth in a place that they call dumb? D-U-M-B, Deep Underground Military Base, dumb. Now, you would have to be pretty unconscious. Would you agree to go there and entomb yourself?
You would, and there's a gentleman out I just spoke with not too long ago about coming on my show that did the whole story on the deep underground military bases, and he couldn't come on the show because he left the country. He said he was fearing for his life and left the country. We got more and more people leaving the country, but they don't call it the New World Order for nothing. They're everywhere. They're in every country, and we're financing this whole global government, aren't we? We give foreign aid to all the countries out there that are being underwritten by the banksters, and these banksters are the bad guys. I'm sorry, folks. Whatever race, whatever color they are the bad guys. Anybody's trying to take it. Now, let me ask you this. I've been doing this for a number of years, and we tried to make some changes. We tried to do the militia. We tried to do all that, and to protect the people. I mean, there's no laws, and the Constitution, with the Second Amendment, allows you to defend yourself. But if nobody knows what's going on, if everybody's just turning on that TV every afternoon when they get home, what chance do we have? Now, I came up with one answer, and I said maybe the Bible had the right idea. Maybe the Bible told us to come out of her. Come out of her. So why don't we do that? And I thought we could do it by bringing the country back to the city. If we start growing our own food in the city, if we start generating our own power on our own homes, we can step out of this finance thing. These banksters, the corporations have sprung up around them, like Standard Oil of New York, like General Electric. Those are controlling our television. They're controlling our thought patterns, and you're certainly supporting them every time you go to HEB to buy food. You're supporting them, and you don't even know what kind of food you're getting. So how do we correct that? How do we correct that?
Well, you're right on there. There's a lot of talk going on about the archons right now being, part of our mind matrix, basically, and how not human it is to build cities and stack human beings on top of each other in these huge buildings, and everybody being, smashed together in these places that are very unnatural. And so it's really pretty evident at this point with the rise of consciousness in humans that we know now that cities are not a natural occurring human aspect of our life on Earth, and it's something that's been forced upon us. And I think you've got a great idea. If people can commune, that's the best way. If they can get together and form, turn a small lot in a city into a garden, or begin to have gardens on your rooftops and on your balconies, and to know to store some stuff, food, that is, have water on hand, not just 6 bottles of water either, like I recently heard somebody say when they were stocking up that they had just a small amount of water. Have enough food and water for a couple weeks at least if you live in the city in a small apartment. If you don't, have way more food than that. It's good to have a year's supply of food if you're able to. It's good to prepare for everything and prepare for the worst. That's what they say, right? Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And that's real good advice no matter what the situation is for people. But if you are able to get out of the city, and that is something that you can do now, I would say would be a very good time to do that, to get out of the city, because if you are stuck here in this matrix reality for whatever reasons, and we certainly don't put people down for being in this position because it's a trick. People have been fooled into doing what they're doing. So we don't look down upon people who are asleep, essentially. We just know that these are our brothers and sisters, and they have been tricked into being in this unconscious position in life. But if you're beginning to wake up and see things for what they are, then that's a natural spiritual thing to do, is to begin to take better care of your body. And we recommend right off the bat, the best thing you can possibly do is to completely get rid of your television and to begin to know what you're putting in your body. Change your diet. Don't eat any of that poison, anything coming from fast food. If you walk into any grocery store, like Bonnie and I, now that we have the knowledge we do, we know when you walk into a grocery store, there's about 2% of the food that's in that entire big, huge building, about 2% of it is actually edible, and I don't know if it's good for you, but it's okay, it's not poisonous. The other 98% of the food in every grocery store is poison. If it's got any corn product in it, it's GMO. And we now know, as of a little bit over a year ago, that the foreign RNA from the alien gene that they put in the GMO, which makes a GMO, let's say a gene from a virus that goes, the BH gene from the virus, the BH virus that goes into corn, that survives digestion. We know that for over a year now, which means, and this is all scientific papers now, you can read all about it and go research it. They now know that the RNA survives digestion. It is the foreign RNA. It attaches to your human DNA and on your organs and whatnot in your body, and it actually, that foreign RNA makes your human DNA manifest in non-human ways. This is scientifically proven now, which is to say, simply, the more GMO food a human being eats, the less human they become, literally, okay? Literally. So it's not just a kind of important thing, it's crucial to watch your diet, get off the GMO, and the other things are, the first thing is really the TV, kill the TV, fix your diet so you're not eating any GMO, and also the cell phones are extremely dangerous. Bonnie and I, we got rid of our cell phones, for regular use. We have a track phone that we have just for emergency use or for when we're traveling. Any other time during the day, it is off with the battery out of it in a box. And we have turned our house phones back to the tethered house phone with the coily cord on it, and got rid of the wireless phones in our house, because those are just as dangerous, sometimes even more dangerous than cell phones. And like I said, all of these things are integral.
You might
from
try
the chemtrails to the GMO to the television.
You might try switching to Skype and getting rid of that Magik jack. I don't.
did that just because, you know, we don't really even like the phone at all, man. But so we got the Magic check because it's $29 for the whole year, and boy, we wish we didn't even have to have a telephone at all. You know, if it wasn't for relatives, we probably wouldn't even have that. But yeah, I agree with you. We do have Skype though too, incidentally.
All right, you might. I'm Free American 69. Yeah. You might add us that way, and that may, because I would like to do another show with you later on this month. I think this is important information.
Oh, sure.
And
oh, yes, sir.
You'll be up on my website for a month. If you send you can save this. It'll be on Revolution. It won't be on Blog Talk for probably about 24 hours. Since I couldn't connect with Blog Talk today, but it will be downloaded from Revolution a little bit as soon as they get that done. And the idea that I've come up with is if you can generate your own power from everything God gave us, and you can grow your own food and eat right, put chickens in the backyard, and you got eggs and everything else, you don't really need the banksters for that much. And if you can convince your neighbors that, hey, we built this neighborhood from, it was built on an old farm. Let's start it again. Let's grow food instead of grass. And let's do it as a neighborhood. Let's do it as a neighborhood so we don't have any bitching from the neighborhood association. Then you are starting to take positive steps. You know, I don't want to go out and shoot nobody. I don't want anybody shooting anybody. I don't want anything like that happening. We've got to solve this without fighting. We got to do it with love, not hate.
That's right. That's absolutely right. That's a great thing to say, Clay. The key to all of this, the one key that stands up in front of everything else, it doesn't matter what religion you are, where you're from, anything. None of that matters except for one thing, and that's love in your heart. The reason why Bonnie and I are here doing this interview with you and getting this crucial information out about mind control to everybody, the reason is because we practice the highest form of magic that exists on the planet. And that comes from love, an abundance of love and care in your heart. And if you have that, you're going to be fine. That is the key to do that. Go ahead.
I've told people when I started the militias back in '94 in New Mexico, I told people, take your gun out, clean it, load it, shoot the TV. You'll be a lot better off. We got a caller on the line, 775 area code.
Yes, sir.
Who do we got? Who do we have, sir? Hello, 775.
Good morning, Clayton. My name is Edward Ferrer out in Fallon, Nevada, right next to the home of Top Gun.
All right.
I want to thank you guys for the work you're doing this morning. And I would suggest that any of you got a computer in front of you, just go to Google and type in SSSS technology, and you will see it has a name. SSSS technology, and it's been there since 1978. Google it. You guys will be shocked. Love you guys. Keep up the fight.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
SS is for, that's beautiful. Thanks a lot for that.
Silent sound spectrum. Silent sound spectrum technology. Look it up. Google it. It's right there.
And
see you guys.
By the way, tune in tomorrow. I'll have Deborah Tavares on my show talking about smart meter technology, talking about quiet weapons, silent weapons for quiet wars, and quite a bit else. Go ahead, tell me more about the silent sound spectrum technology. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. That was a great call in. Yes, sir. The SSSS, which we're very aware of, is part of the Project Bluebeam system, which you're probably aware of, which Sergei Monast, which is a good guy to look up, he basically gave his life, him and another journalist, they both died within a week of each other of heart attacks, both men under the age of 45, incidentally, so they were given these heart attacks. They brought out the information about Project Bluebeam, and what the caller what the caller was talking about, the SSSS, the Silent Sound Spectrum System, actually can beam voices right into your head wirelessly. And there's also a video on YouTube even of them using that technology right in downtown New York City, I believe, to advertise, at the time, several years ago actually, to advertise a horror movie on TV. And when you walk by the building, you would walk through this beam, and when you walk through the beam, you would hear the commercial in your head. Although nobody else around you who are standing outside of that SSSS beam could hear it, because it's not audible like coming from a speaker. It's right through a beam right into your head. And the Japanese right now are using that technology on shoppers in different venues, different stores, as a anti-theft promotion, where they beam sounds or voices or whatever of to get people to not shoplift. They're actually using that, and when you leave the store, you hear, in Japanese, of course, you hear "Thank you for shopping with us" or whatever, as you walk through that beam and it hits your head. So this is an aspect of Project Bluebeam, and as we know, Sergey Monast told us all about Project Bluebeam, and that part of the technology would be holographic images combined with voices or different technologies being beamed right into your head. And also, along the lines of what Bonnie and I are doing, that they would use dark magic to infiltrate your home with spirits right through the coax cable for your television set, right through phone lines and whatnot going into your home. And so that's where we are, please.
Well,
right
it seems to me the only place
great
you're
caller,
really...
Great caller, that was great. SSSS, it is.
It seems to me the only really safe place you got and where you can go to relax is what I find to be one of the most relaxing things you can do. Go sit around a campfire, pass a joint, sit down and get away from the television, get away from the electronics, and get away from the surveillance. Talk to each other. Talk to each
We're
other.
definitely proponents.
Go ahead.
That's right. Another good thing that's great, and when you're out there sitting around the fire, passing that joint, maybe if that's your thing, that's fine. The human body actually, as we know now, has actual cannabinoid receptors inside your hypothalamus, which means that the human body is actually physically designed by the Creator to accept marijuana, to accept the THC in the receptors of the hypothalamus. So we were built to use mother marijuana as a medicine and as a stress reliever. So it's actually absolutely natural and by the Creator that we use this. And I would also suggest something that Bonnie and I picked up on while you're out there sitting around that campfire, behaving like actual loving earthlings, like loving beings, and communicating with each other, not looking down at a phone, texting every 2 seconds. Shut those phones off and get rid of them while you're around that campfire. But the main thing is take your shoes off and your socks and connect with the earth. You're a frequency-based being. You have electrical components of your body, as does the earth. And when you take your shoes off and stick them in the dirt there when you're sitting around the campfire, you are literally connecting with earth. One of the aspects, which isn't talked about much, that has been used by the Illuminati to cut us off from earth is shoes. It may seem super simple, but we stick those shoes on with a rubber insulated sole on babies when they're toddlers, and essentially if you're an American, man, it's very infrequent in your whole lifetime that you get a chance to walk around on the earth without shoes on, but it's extremely important. And I'm glad you brought that up, Clay.
All right, we do need to get back to earth. We're coming up on the end of the hour here. I want to thank you both for being with us, and I'll get back with you if Magic Jack works. If you don't hear from me by tomorrow, here, give me a call back, and I'll get you up on next week. We got a pretty good lineup of guests here, and I just want to mention, I've experimented with what people would call magic, and it occurred to me that when you do this little voodoo doll thing, I did that for with one of my neighbors or one of my roommates, and I sat around in a room full of people, and I said, "Watch." Paula called me, and I held up this little doll, and it took about 3 minutes for her to find a place to pull over, stop. She called me, and she said, I said, what's going on, man? What'd you call for? Well, I'm just taking somebody to the airport, but I thought I should call. And it occurs to me that this ain't magic, this is science. When you got that lock of hair in your hand, you're actually, if you can take yourself down to that level of vibration, you got a direct contact with her through her DNA. This is what magic was all about.
That's absolutely correct.
So
that's right. And the highest form of magic comes from the heart, love and care in the heart. This is the reason why I love to bring this subject very quickly. I know you're at the bottom here of the hour, but we have that film footage of the Bohemian Grove and those people doing their satanic burning the effigy care, which is to say getting care out of your heart. These people all want to not have care so that they can be not human anymore and just do what they want to do to everybody and apparently gain power, which is the deception that's not really power. But I want to point out for all the researchers who have seen that video, when those satanic reptilian priests from across the water scream out during their religious little ritual that they're doing, when they scream out to all of these reporters and mass media personnel and all the politicians that are standing there participating in this ritual, those reptilian priests scream out to them, "Fools, you are all fools, you are all fools." And that is the only bit of truth that you see there. Those reptilians are telling those people, and those people aren't you and me. Those aren't everyday people.
All right, we're out of time here.
The Illuminati.
God bless you. Thank you for your work. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
supposed to be trying to call me back, you know, today with quotes.
Where were those napkins, baby?
Huh? What?
Where were your napkins?
They're in that drawer that you can't get into because the dishwasher's there. I have to pull the dishwasher out and open that drawer to get to them, and I haven't did it yet. I was going to do it when I got home yesterday, but it didn't work out.
What do you want on it, baby? A little bit of salt? Ketchup?
No. The way that guy and his wife were talking, sounded to me like the only safe place in the world would be the middle of a 40-acre field with trees and mountains around you, and no satellite dishes anywhere. And because if your neighbor's got a satellite dish, they're going to program you from the other guy's satellite dish according to them. They're really out there. They believe a lot of that crap. I mean, I can believe some of it, but I just can't swallow they were totally that bad to where you can't do nothing without everything. They mentioned absolutely everything is programming. Well, in other words, your entire life, if you're 60 years old, you've been programmed for 60 years, and it's getting worse and worse, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's kind of far out there. I'm not saying some of what they're saying isn't right. Some of it probably is, but
They're talking about the television. They're telling you the same thing I've always told you, baby. That's all. They ain't saying you gotta isolate yourself. They ain't saying none of that. And you don't have to be in the
you had that. That's the flooring for my bedroom. And they're all 5 inch. I need to get that flooring down in that bedroom where the big hole's at. There's a big hole in my floor, and that
Back here?
I paid $40 a sheet for that stuff to put down. And I have.
Sorry, I used it.
No, I told you to use it. It was okay to use it temporarily, but I need to get off my ass and get that floor fixed. Get down.
And I'm sorry you got upset last night. The only thing about tequila, I was disappointed because I thought we were going to come back, have some tequila, and I was going to be able to make love to you again, and I didn't realize you were in that much pain, and I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.